Chosen one, stop for a moment and hear this clearly. This is not a casual message, and it is not reaching you by coincidence. God is speaking to you with urgency, because there is something in your life that can no longer be ignored. If you overlook what He is about to reveal, you may delay a blessing that has already been prepared for you and prolong a struggle that was never meant to last this long. This is serious, and it concerns your peace, your calling, and the breakthrough that has been waiting at your door. There is a person in your life what God is revealing now as the J person, and their presence is not random. You may have thought they were simply part of your journey, someone tied to your past, your emotions, or your loyalty. But God is showing you that this connection carries more weight than you realized. This person has been influencing your atmosphere in ways that are subtle, yet deeply impactful. You have felt it in moments of confusion, in emotional exhaustion, in the quiet tension you could never fully explain. This is not about blaming them or judging them harshly. This is about seeing clearly. The J person represents a situation that is affecting your alignment. And when alignment is affected, everything connected to your destiny begins to slow down your clarity, your confidence, even your ability to move forward in what God has called you to do. That is why this message cannot wait. God is not exposing this to create fear in you, but to awaken discernment. You are stepping into a season where you cannot afford to be emotionally entangled with what is quietly draining you. Pay attention, chosen one. This is the moment where understanding replaces confusion, and where wisdom will determine whether you step into your next level or remain stuck longer than necessary. Chosen one, you have asked in quiet moments, God, why did you allow this person to stay in my life for so long? And the answer you are receiving now may not be what you expected, but it is what will set you free. This was never meant to break you. It was meant to prepare you. What you experienced was not punishment, it was positioning. God did not send this connection to destroy your peace, but to reveal where your peace was still too dependent on people instead of anchored in Him. The J person did not enter your life by accident, and they were not allowed to remain without purpose. Their presence exposed patterns you could not see before. It revealed where you were overextending your kindness, where you were tolerating what you should have questioned, and where you were giving access to someone who did not carry your heart with care. You may have felt drained, confused, or even betrayed at times, but beneath those emotions, something deeper was happening. God was showing you your boundaries by allowing them to be crossed. You must understand this clearly. Not everyone who is assigned to your life is assigned to stay in your inner circle. Some people are temporary by design. They are part of a lesson, not part of your destination. The J person represents one of those assignments, a relationship that teaches you where your limits should be, where your voice must become stronger, and where your discernment must grow sharper. This is why the connection felt so intense. It touched your emotions, your loyalty, and your desire to maintain peace. You tried to hold it together, to understand, to give more chances, because that is the kind of heart you carry. But God is gently shifting your understanding now. Love does not mean unlimited access. Patience does not mean silent endurance. And loyalty does not mean remaining in situations that quietly drain your spirit. The purpose of this relationship was not to keep you stuck, but to prepare you for a higher level of clarity and emotional maturity. Through this, God is teaching you how to recognize what aligns with your calling and what competes with it. He is refining your circle, not punishing your heart. And once you see this for what it truly is, the pain begins to turn into wisdom, and the confusion begins to turn into clarity. Chosen one, what made this connection so difficult was not just who the J person was, but what they awakened inside of you. This was never only about their behavior. It was about how their presence touched places within you that had not fully healed. You gave more than you should have, not because you were weak, but because your heart was genuine. You showed patience, understanding, and loyalty, even when something within you felt unsettled. You kept hoping that if you explained yourself better, loved deeper, or stayed longer, things would finally align. But instead, you found yourself feeling drained, confused, and at times even betrayed. There were moments when you questioned your own reactions. You wondered if you were overthinking, overreacting, or expecting too much. You replayed conversations in your mind, trying to understand where things shifted, trying to make sense of mixed signals. One moment they seemed supportive, the next they created doubt. One moment they were close, the next they pulled away or made you feel small. This inconsistency did not just frustrate you, it quietly exhausted you. And still, you stayed patient because a part of you did not want to lose the connection. But here is what God is revealing. The J person touched your need for validation. When they affirmed you, you felt secure. When they withdrew, you felt unsettled. That pattern exposed how much of your emotional stability had been placed in someone else's hands. You were not just responding to them, you were reacting from deeper wounds, from places where you once felt unseen, unappreciated, or not fully chosen. And without realizing it, you began to overgive, hoping your consistency would create clarity. They also pressed on your silence. There were things you felt but did not fully express, boundaries you sensed but did not clearly establish. You chose peace over confrontation, even when that peace came at the cost of your own clarity. And over time, you found yourself explaining your intentions more than you should have, defending your decisions, and trying to prove your heart to someone who should have already recognized it. This is why the connection felt so heavy. It was not just about what they did, it was about what it revealed in you. God allowed this not to shame you, but to show you. To show you where you have been pouring from an unprotected place. To show you where emotional dependency was forming quietly beneath your kindness. And now, as you begin to see it clearly, you are no longer the same, because awareness is the first step toward freedom. Chosen one, now that you see more clearly what this connection has been doing within you, God is not calling you to react. He is calling you to respond with wisdom. The way you handle the J person in this season will determine whether you step into peace or remain entangled in confusion. And hear this clearly. You are not being asked to become cold, distant, or hardened. You are being called to become discerning. Your first instinct may be to confront everything at once, to release built-up frustration, or to finally say everything you have been holding inside. But God is cautioning you, do not let emotion lead this moment. When you react from hurt, you lose clarity. When you argue to prove your worth, you step into a battle that was never meant for you to fight. You do not need to convince anyone of your value. That has already been established by God Himself. The J person may try to pull you into emotional exchanges, subtle debates, or situations where you feel the need to explain, defend, or justify yourself. Do not take that invitation. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every misunderstanding requires correction. Sometimes the strongest position you can take is silence. Not the silence of avoidance, but the silence of self-control. Silence, in the right moment, is strength under control. It shows that you are no longer moved by every shift in their behavior. God is teaching you to shift from emotional reaction to spiritual discernment. Instead of asking, "How do I respond to this moment?" begin to ask, "What is this pattern revealing?" Instead of reacting to every word, observe the consistency of their actions. Wisdom does not rush to speak. Wisdom watches, discerns, and then responds with intention. You are also being called to stop engaging in cycles that drain you. You do not need to revisit every issue, re-explain your heart, or keep trying to make things clear to someone who is not truly receiving you. Repetition does not create understanding when there is no alignment. At some point, wisdom recognizes when to step back instead of leaning in further. This is not about winning an argument. This is about protecting your peace. You are entering a season where your energy must be guarded, where your focus must remain steady, and where your spirit cannot afford unnecessary conflict. God is not asking you to fight harder. He is asking you to move smarter. So remain calm. Speak when necessary, but do not over-explain. Stand firm, but do not become harsh. Let your responses be measured, not emotional. Because the moment you choose wisdom over reaction, you break the cycle, and that is where your peace begins to return. Chosen one, in this season, God is sharpening your discernment, and one of the most important lessons you must learn is this. Do not build your understanding of someone based on what they say. Build it based on what they consistently do. Words can be convincing, comforting, even beautiful, but patterns reveal truth, and the J person has been revealing more through their behavior than through anything they have spoken. There were moments when they sounded supportive, when their words felt kind, when they seemed to celebrate you. But if you look closely, you will notice something deeper. They may praise you in public, yet quietly question you in private. They may speak encouragement, yet their actions subtly compete with your growth. They may say they want the best for you, yet respond in ways that leave you doubting yourself, shrinking your voice, or second-guessing your direction. This is where many people become confused, because they focus on isolated moments instead of consistent patterns. A kind word can temporarily cover repeated behavior, but it cannot erase it. A single supportive gesture does not cancel a cycle of inconsistency. God is teaching you to step back and observe over time. Not what happens once, but what repeats. Not what is said occasionally, but what is demonstrated consistently. Inconsistency is not random, it is revealing. It shows misalignment. It shows instability. And it creates emotional confusion because it keeps you hoping for the version of the person you saw briefly while ignoring the pattern they show repeatedly. This is why you have felt unsettled. Your spirit recognized the pattern even when your mind tried to justify the words. You must also understand this. Intention does not override impact. The J person may not always intend to hurt you. They may not even be fully aware of how their behavior affects you. But if the impact of their actions consistently leaves you drained, uncertain, or questioning your worth, that impact cannot be ignored. Discernment is not about judging someone harshly. It is about recognizing what is true and responding wisely. God is inviting you to move out of emotional attachment and into clear observation. Watch how they respond when you succeed. Watch how they handle your boundaries. Watch whether their support is consistent or conditional. These details matter because patterns do not lie. And once you begin to see clearly, you will no longer be guided by words alone. You will be led by truth. Chosen one, now that you see the patterns more clearly, God is not just giving you understanding, He is giving you instruction. This is where wisdom becomes action. You are not called to make a dramatic exit, nor are you called to create conflict or announce your decisions loudly. Instead, you are being led into a quieter, stronger posture. You begin to reduce access. You do not need to explain everything you are doing. You do not need to justify why you are pulling back. Some of the most powerful moves you will make in this season will happen without words. You simply stop giving the same level of access to your time, your energy, and your inner world. You begin to choose what you share, when you share it, and with whom. This is not manipulation, this is protection. Protect your plans. Not everyone needs to know what God is building in your life. The J person has already shown you that their response to your growth is not always aligned with your peace. So instead of speaking freely about your dreams, your next steps, or your breakthroughs, you become more selective. You allow your vision to grow in quiet spaces, away from unnecessary opinions, doubt, or subtle discouragement. Speak less about your future around those who have not proven they can hold it with care. There is wisdom in silence. There is strength in privacy. When you stop oversharing, you also stop giving others the opportunity to influence what God is shaping in you. Your calling does not need constant validation from people, it needs protection. At the same time, God is not asking you to isolate yourself completely. He is teaching you to shift where you place your trust. Share your victories with those who celebrate without comparison. Surround yourself with people who bring peace, not pressure. The difference will become clear as you begin to move this way. Your energy will feel lighter, your mind will feel clearer. And here is something important. Your withdrawal does not need to be obvious to be effective. You do not need to cut them off aggressively or create distance through conflict. Sometimes, the strongest boundary is a subtle one. You respond less, you engage less, you open up less. Not out of bitterness, but out of awareness. This is what strength looks like when it is guided by wisdom. As you begin to reduce access, you may notice something shift within you. The emotional weight you once carried will start to lift. The need to explain yourself will decrease. The tension that once followed you will begin to fade. This is not coincidence. This is what happens when you protect your peace. Remember this, chosen one. Access is a privilege, not a right. And in this season, God is teaching you to guard that privilege carefully. Not everyone loses access because they are bad. Some lose access because they are not aligned with where you are going. And as you move forward with quiet confidence, you will realize that protecting your peace is not selfish, it is necessary for your next level. Chosen one, this is the place where many people struggle the most, not because they lack understanding, but because their heart is still trying to hold on while their spirit is telling them to step back. You have been taught that love means staying, that loyalty means enduring, and that forgiveness means giving people the same level of access again and again. But God is correcting that belief in you now. Forgiveness does not require foolishness. You can forgive someone and still change how close they are to you. You can release bitterness without reopening the same door that led to pain. Forgiveness frees your heart, but wisdom protects your life. These two must work together. If you only forgive without discernment, you repeat cycles. If you only set boundaries without grace, your heart becomes hardened. God is teaching you balance. You may feel guilt as you begin to create distance. A part of you may wonder, am I being unfair? Am I being cold? Am I forgetting the good they have done? But hear this clearly. Gratitude does not require blind trust. You can acknowledge the moments they showed up for you without ignoring the patterns that hurt you. Honoring the good does not mean excusing the harm. Boundaries are not rejection, they are alignment. When you set them, you are not pushing people away out of pride. You are positioning your life in a way that protects your peace and honors what God is doing in you. And yes, to someone who was used to your openness, your patience, and your constant availability, your growth will feel like distance. They may say you have changed. They may question your intentions. But what they are really noticing is that you are no longer accessible in the same way. Growth always creates separation from the version of you that tolerated what you should have questioned. And those who benefited from that version may struggle to understand the new one. But you are not responsible for maintaining their comfort at the expense of your clarity. God is not asking you to stop loving. He is asking you to love wisely. Love does not mean unlimited access. Love does not mean constant explanation. Love does not mean sacrificing your peace to keep someone else close. You can care about someone deeply and still recognize that their role in your life must change. As you walk this out, your heart will begin to settle. The guilt will fade, and clarity will take its place. You will realize that what once felt like rejection is actually protection. What once felt like loss is actually alignment. And what once felt like confusion is now being replaced with quiet confidence. This is the moment where you stop confusing kindness with self-sacrifice. This is the moment where you stop calling unhealthy attachment loyalty. And this is the moment where you begin to understand that boundaries are not walls, they are doors that you now choose how and when to open. Chosen one, there is a deeper layer to what God is teaching you in this season, and it goes beyond what you do externally. It reaches into how you respond internally. This is where emotional independence begins. For a long time, you have carried more than your share. You felt responsible for keeping the peace, for fixing what felt broken, for softening every tension before it grew too uncomfortable. But God is now releasing you from a weight that was never yours to carry. Not every silence must be chased. When the J person becomes distant, quiet, or withdrawn, you do not have to rush in to restore connection. You do not have to fill every gap, smooth every moment, or pull them back into alignment. Sometimes silence is simply information. It reveals where things truly stand. And when you stop chasing it, you begin to see more clearly. Not every mood must be managed by you. Their frustration, their inconsistency, their emotional shifts, these are not your responsibility to regulate. You may have found yourself adjusting your tone, your behavior, even your words, just to keep things stable. But stability that depends entirely on you is not real stability, it is pressure, and God is removing you from that role. You must also understand this. Compassion is not carrying someone else's unresolved battles. You can care about what they are going through without absorbing it into your own spirit. You can acknowledge their struggles without making them your assignment. There is a difference between empathy and emotional entanglement. One keeps your heart open, the other drains your strength. Helping does not mean surrendering your peace. You can be kind without overextending. You can be present without losing yourself. You can support someone without sacrificing your clarity. And if helping them constantly leaves you exhausted, confused, or depleted, then something is out of alignment. God is teaching you to step back, not in anger, but in awareness. You are learning to observe without reacting, to listen without absorbing, and to respond without losing control of your own emotions. This is what emotional discipline looks like. This is what maturity feels like. As you begin to walk in this, you will notice a shift. The constant pressure to fix everything will lift. The anxiety tied to their behavior will decrease. You will no longer feel pulled in every direction by their emotional state. Instead, you will stand steady, calm, grounded, because your peace was never meant to be managed by someone else's stability. It was meant to come from within, from God Himself. And as you anchor yourself there, you will no longer feel the need to chase, to prove, or to carry what was never yours. Chosen one, this is where everything begins to shift. Not just how you see the J person, but how you see yourself. Because the deeper impact of this connection was never only external. It reached into your identity. It touched how you perceive your worth, your voice, and your inner knowing. There were moments when their words or reactions made you question yourself. You wondered if you were being too sensitive, too direct, too distant, or not enough. You began to second-guess your instincts, even when something inside you was quietly warning you that something was not right. But hear this clearly, that inner voice was not confusion, it was discernment. And God is restoring your trust in it. Discernment is steady, it does not shout, it does not rush. It sits quietly within you, clear and grounded. Anxiety, on the other hand, is loud, urgent, and chaotic. It pushes you to react quickly, to fix things immediately, to seek reassurance from the very source that unsettled you. You must learn to recognize the difference. What you felt around the J person was not random fear. It was a steady knowing that something was misaligned. The J person caused you to lean too heavily on external validation. When they affirmed you, you felt secure. When they withdrew or questioned you, your confidence shifted. That pattern revealed something important. Your sense of worth had become partially tied to their perception, and now God is breaking that dependence. Your identity is not defined by how someone responds to you. It is rooted in who He created you to be. Anchor your worth in God, not in their opinion. People are inconsistent, their moods change, their perspectives shift. But your identity cannot be built on something unstable. When you anchor yourself in truth, you no longer need constant reassurance. You no longer feel shaken by every reaction or every subtle change in tone. You must also stop second-guessing your intuition. There were times when you felt something was off, but you talked yourself out of it. You told yourself to be more patient, more understanding, more forgiving, and while those qualities are beautiful, they became harmful when they silenced your discernment. God placed that awareness within you for protection, not to be ignored. False peace is expensive. It may feel easier in the moment to stay quiet, to avoid tension, to keep things smooth. But that kind of peace slowly erodes your confidence and disconnects you from your truth. True peace, on the other hand, strengthens your identity. It may require difficult decisions, quiet distance, or standing firm when it would be easier to fold. But it leaves you grounded, not drained. As you step into this level of clarity, something powerful begins to happen. Your confidence becomes quieter but stronger. You no longer feel the need to prove yourself. You no longer feel intimidated by someone else's certainty or personality. You begin to trust your perception again. You begin to speak with calm conviction instead of emotional reaction. God is not just teaching you how to deal with the J person. He is rebuilding your inner foundation. He is restoring your voice. He is strengthening your discernment. And He is freeing you from the need to be constantly affirmed by others. This is the transformation. You are no longer the version of yourself that doubts every feeling or seeks validation in every interaction. You are becoming someone who sees clearly, stands firmly, and moves wisely. And once you reach this place, no one's inconsistency can shake you because your identity is no longer dependent on them. Chosen one, as you begin to shift your approach, there is something important you must understand. This is not about forcing an outcome. It is about allowing truth to reveal itself over time. The J person may respond to your change in different ways, and how they respond will tell you everything you need to know. If they are willing to grow, there is space for something healthier to develop. Growth is not shown through words alone. It is shown through consistent change. If they begin to respect your boundaries, communicate with clarity, and show a genuine effort to align with a healthier dynamic, then there may be room for a more balanced connection. But even then, you must move slowly. Do not rush back into old levels of closeness simply because things feel better in the moment. Real transformation is steady, not sudden. It is proven over time, not promised in conversation. On the other hand, if they respond with defensiveness, mockery, or subtle attempts to shift blame onto you, that response is also clarity. If they minimize your boundaries, question your intentions, or try to make you feel guilty for protecting your peace, they are revealing that they are not ready to meet you where you are. And in that case, distance may no longer be temporary, it may become necessary. You must not ignore these responses. This is not the time to interpret everything through hope. It is the time to observe through discernment. Words may sound convincing, but consistency is what confirms truth. If patterns remain unchanged, then nothing has truly changed. God is not asking you to force people to grow. He is asking you to recognize who is willing to grow with you and who is not. And once that becomes clear, your responsibility is not to hold on, it is to respond accordingly. Either outcome is not something you need to fear. If the connection evolves into something healthier, it will be built on respect and clarity. If it fades or becomes distant, it is because alignment no longer exists. And in both cases, God remains in control. Your role is not to control the result. but to walk in wisdom and let truth reveal what is meant to stay and what is meant to change. Chosen one, what you are experiencing is not just about one relationship, it is part of a greater refinement that God is doing in your life. This is about your circle, your environment, and the people who will walk with you into your next season. God is not randomly removing or adjusting connections. He is intentionally refining who has access to you because your destiny requires alignment, not confusion. Elevation always requires separation. As you grow, as your awareness deepens, and as your calling becomes clearer, not every connection can remain the same. Some people were aligned with who you used to be, but they are not aligned with who you are becoming. And when that shift happens, it creates distance not out of rejection, but out of necessity. God is refining your circle so that the people around you carry peace, not pressure. The right people will not feel threatened by your growth. They will not compete with your progress or question your direction in ways that create doubt. Instead, they will honor your boundaries, respect your pace, and support your alignment. They will bring clarity, not confusion. This is why you must not interpret every change in your relationships as loss. This is not rejection, this is refinement. God is not taking something away from you without purpose. He is making space for connections that are healthier, more stable, and more aligned with your future. What is not aligned will naturally begin to fade, not because it was meaningless, but because its purpose has been fulfilled. You prayed for elevation, you asked for clarity, peace, and growth. And now that those things are being formed in you, your environment must also reflect that transformation. You cannot carry new levels of responsibility while remaining surrounded by patterns that belong to your past. As your circle refines, you may feel moments of solitude, but do not confuse that with emptiness. This is sacred space where God is realigning your life, strengthening your foundation, and preparing you for the right people to enter at the right time. Trust this process. You are not being isolated, you are being positioned. And as your life aligns more fully with God's purpose, you will find that the connections meant for you will not only remain, but will rise to meet you with the same level of clarity, respect, and peace that you now carry. Chosen one, take a deep breath and receive this truth with peace. You are not losing anything that is meant to remain in your life. What is truly aligned with you will not be broken by your growth. It will adjust, it will mature, and it will meet you at the level you are stepping into. And what is not aligned, no matter how familiar or emotional it once felt, will begin to fade, not as punishment, but as protection. This shift you are experiencing is not confusion, it is clarity. It is God gently removing what no longer fits, so that what is right can fully take its place. You are not being abandoned, you are being guided. Every moment of awareness, every boundary you set, every step you take toward peace is moving you closer to the life that was always meant for you. Trust this process, even when it feels uncomfortable. Trust the silence, the distance, and the changes you cannot fully explain yet, because behind all of it, God is working with precision. He is guarding your heart, protecting your mind, and positioning you for something greater than what you have known. You are chosen, you are covered, and you are becoming wiser with every decision you make. This is not the end of something good, it is the beginning of something better, something healthier, something aligned with your purpose. If this message spoke directly to your spirit, take a moment to comment, Amen, and stand in agreement with what God is doing in your life. And if you feel led, subscribe and stay connected, because there is more clarity and guidance ahead for you. Now, let us close in a moment of peace. God, thank you for guiding this chosen one. Thank you for revealing what needed to be seen and for giving them the wisdom to respond with strength and grace. Guard their heart, steady their mind, and lead them into peace, clarity, and alignment. Let every step they take be covered by your presence, In your name. Amen.